Coffee, that dark and mysterious beverage that accompanies our mornings, our conversations, and even our moments of self-reflection. But have you ever wondered how this brew became one of the most consumed beverages in the world? Or what influence it has had on our history, our culture, and even our spirituality? Coffee is said to awaken the spirit, but what few know is that since its discovery, it has also sparked revolutions, inspired great philosophical works, and challenged established norms. It has been considered a divine elixir, a satanic threat, a symbol of rebellion, and an engine of social change. Its history is full of mysteries, controversies, and unexpected events that have shaped our world. We delve into the origins of coffee, explore its mysterious arrival among humanity, and how its influence spread from the temples of Sufi monks to the glittering coffee houses of Europe, where philosophers and revolutionaries spread ideas that would change the course of history. But we won't limit ourselves to history alone. We'll also discover the influence of coffee on our energy, consciousness, and spiritual world. If you've ever wondered whether coffee is just a beverage or actually bridges the gap between the mundane and the divine, stay until the end, because what you discover could change your perspective on your cup of coffee forever. To understand the significance of coffee to humanity, we must explore its mysterious origins. Legend tells us that a shepherd named Kaldi in the Ethiopian mountains observed how his goats seemed full of energy and vitality after chewing red candies. Some even stood on two legs, others were tightly dressed. Fascinated, he brought the candies to a nearby monastery. There, the monks discovered that the infusion helped them stay awake during their nightly prayers and began using it in their spiritual rituals. From these early encounters, coffee spread to the Islamic world and became a central element of Sufi tradition. Sufi mystics used coffee in their dhikr, their repeated meditation and prayer sessions, believing it stimulated the mind, sharpened the intellect, and enabled heightened states of consciousness. In these countries, coffee evolved from a simple sweet to a sacred beverage, known as the wine of Islam. However, its growing popularity also brought controversy. By the 16th century, the religious and political authorities of the Ottoman Empire began to view it with suspicion. Coffee houses, places where people met to debate, philosophize, and exchange ideas, became places of free thought and often breeding grounds for rebellion. Their influence was so great that coffee was banned several times in Mecca and other regions of the Islamic world for fear that its consumption could trigger social unrest. But what was destined to remain in the East soon reached Europe. In the 17th century, Venetian merchants brought coffee to Italy, where it was met with skepticism. Some clergymen considered it a satanic invention, while others, like Pope Clement Edis, after tasting it, declared its taste so delicious that it deserved baptism and acceptance into the church. Thus, coffee houses quickly spread throughout Europe's major cities and became centers of culture, debate, and intellectual revolution. From London to Paris, cafés were the place where writers, philosophers, and politicians shaped modern thought. In 18th century France, cafés became the breeding ground for the Enlightenment, places where figures like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Diderot debated human progress and the downfall of monarchies. In England, in the so-called penny universities, anyone could listen to the philosophical and scientific discussions of the time for the price of a cup of coffee. But what made coffee so powerful? It was not only a stimulating beverage, but also a catalyst for thought and revolution. While the alcohol widely available in taverns of the time dulled the senses, coffee sharpened them and promoted mental clarity and creativity. And so, unforeseen by anyone, coffee became the driving force behind some of the most transcendent transformations in human history. Now that we understand its historical legacy and its role in social development, an even more intriguing question remains. What influence does coffee have on us energetically and spiritually? To answer this question, we move on to the next part of this analysis. At first glance, coffee appears to be nothing more than a stimulating beverage, a morning ally that awakens the mind and activates the body. But its effects extend far beyond the physical. From an energetic and spiritual perspective, coffee acts as a dual force. It can both strengthen consciousness and unbalance a person's subtle centers. To understand how coffee interacts with our energy field, we must first analyze its influence on the nervous system. Caffeine blocks adenosine, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of fatigue, thereby keeping the mind in an artificial state of alert. While this stimulation can increase concentration and productivity in the short term, it also comes at a price: the depletion of the body's natural energy reserves. From an esoteric perspective, many traditions claim that life energy, called prana in Hinduism, qi in Chinese medicine, or ether in Hermeticism, flows naturally through our being. Frequent consumption of stimulants like coffee disrupts this flow, creating a short-term feeling of strength and mental clarity, but weakening the body's ability to regenerate and balance. According to ancient wisdom, coffee has a strong connection to the lower chakras, particularly the root chakra, Muladhara, and the solar plexus, Manipura. The root chakra, Muladhara, is associated with survival and physical energy. Coffee activates this energy center and provides a brief boost of vitality. However, because it is an artificial stimulus, it can lead to energy dependence and reduce the body's natural ability to draw energy from internal sources. The solar plexus chakra, Manipura, is the chakra associated with willpower, determination, and ego, and is strongly influenced by caffeine. Coffee can strengthen the inner fire and thus increase ambition and drive, but if consumed in excess, it can also promote anxiety and stress. On the other hand, it has a noticeable effect on the higher chakras, the centers of spiritual connection. It is said that by hyperactivating the logical and rational mind, coffee can disrupt the connection with the brow chakra, Ajna, and the crown chakra, Sahasrara, which are associated with intuition and expanded consciousness. In practice, this means that while coffee can enhance analytical thinking and structured creativity, it can also hinder subtle perception and connection with higher levels of consciousness. Herein lies a fascinating paradox. Throughout history, coffee has been used by mystics and philosophers to sharpen the mind and prolong states of concentration. However, the purest spiritual traditions, such as Buddhism and certain branches of yoga, discourage its use, as it interferes with the inner calm necessary for deep states of meditation. Zen monks, for example, preferred green tea, which contains L-theanine, an amino acid that counteracts the stimulating effects of caffeine with a calming effect. Coffee, on the other hand, can cause energy spikes and states of mental hyperactivity, leading to distraction and difficulty achieving true introspection. So does this mean that coffee is an enemy of spiritual development? Not necessarily. It all depends on how and with what level of consciousness it is consumed. Before we proceed with this analysis, let's pause for a moment. So far, we've examined the energetic and spiritual effects of coffee from an esoteric perspective. However, one fundamental aspect remains: its connection to emotional states and personal vibrations. In the next section, we'll delve deeper into the relationship between coffee, emotions, and vibrational frequency. We've examined how coffee affects the mind and energy system, but one central question remains: how does it affect our emotions and our personal vibration? Every substance we consume not only affects our physical body, but also leaves its mark on our energy field. If we look at the spiritual traditions that have studied the influence of food and drink on consciousness, we find a common principle. Everything we consume carries a vibration that interacts with our own and alters our emotional and mental state. Coffee, a highly stimulating substance, is associated with the vibration of fire and energy. In energetic terms, this means that it temporarily increases the frequency of the auric field, thus creating a feeling of mental clarity, dynamism, and quick decision-making. However, this increase is neither stable nor harmonious. Instead of consistently raising your vibration, coffee creates energy spikes followed by abrupt drops, which can lead to a vicious cycle of addiction. One of the most notable effects of coffee is its connection to anxiety and stress. Stimulating the nervous system not only activates the body, but can also amplify latent emotional states. If a person is calm, coffee can provide an energy boost without any negative effects. If a person is stressed or anxious, coffee intensifies these states, causing the mind to become more restless and less able to find balance. From an emotional perspective, coffee can act as a catalyst for internal states. While it's not the direct cause of anxiety or nervousness, it can intensify these emotions if they're already present. The problem isn't just the momentary stimulation coffee provides, but also its impact on the natural flow of energy. When we rely on external substances to stay active, we diminish the body's ability to generate its own vitality. Many spiritual traditions insist that true energy comes not from outside, but from internal alignment with prana, chi, or life force energy. The great masters have affirmed that the energy we need is already within us, waiting to be activated through conscious breathing, balanced nutrition, and meditation practices. When coffee becomes a daily necessity, a similar phenomenon occurs as with any other stimulant. The body and mind enter a state of energy intake, borrowing a boost that they then repay with fatigue or emotional instability. So, how can we enjoy the benefits of coffee without succumbing to its negative effects? The answer lies in balance and awareness. Some of the keys to this could be 1. Conscious consumption. Don't drink coffee out of habit or addiction, but rather when you truly need an energy boost. 2. Accompany it with balancing exercises. If you drink coffee, complement it with techniques like meditation or deep breathing to avoid overstimulating your nervous system. 3. Observe the effects on your body and mind. Everyone has a different relationship with coffee. Observing the effects on your personal energy is crucial in deciding whether to consume it. 4. Alternate with more harmonizing beverages. Herbal teas, green tea, or ceremonial cacao can offer similar benefits, but without the side effects of coffee. Coffee, like any other substance, can be used consciously or unconsciously. The key is not to avoid it completely, but to know how to use it in a way that benefits rather than unbalances. So far, we've examined the effects of coffee on energy, mind, and emotions. But one final aspect is missing: its connection to spiritual awakening and esoteric practices. In the following section, we will see how various traditions have used coffee as a bridge between consciousness and the spiritual world. Throughout history, coffee has not been merely a stimulating beverage. It is also used in rituals, meditation practices, and self-observation processes. Its ability to clarify the mind makes it an ally for concentration and reflection. However, as we have seen, its use must be consciously controlled to avoid energy dependence and negative effects on the auric field. We'll now explore how to integrate coffee into your spiritual life in a balanced way, preventing it from becoming an energetic drain and instead using it as a booster for mental clarity and inner connection. Some spiritual traditions use coffee to increase concentration and mental sharpness before meditation. Its stimulating effect can be helpful for staying alert and mindful during practices like contemplative meditation. Drinking a small amount of coffee before a session of introspection can help focus your attention on a single thought or profound question. Studying sacred texts. Many esoteric schools have used coffee as an intellectual wake-up call to deepen understanding of philosophical and spiritual texts. Creative visualization. Some people find that coffee sharpens their imagination and allows them to explore the symbolic world more clearly during visualization exercises. In some cultures, coffee is used not only as a beverage but also for energy cleansing. Its aroma and composition are said to absorb and transform dense energies. Coffee can be used for this purpose, for example, in a coffee bath by mixing ground coffee beans with lukewarm water and using it as a body scrub. In doing so, imagine the dissolving of negative energies. Coffee incense. Burn dried coffee beans in a safe container to cleanse a space or clear stagnant energy. Offerings on the altar. In some esoteric systems, coffee is placed as offerings on altars to gain clarity and spiritual guidance. Anyone who feels they're overly dependent on coffee should reconnect with their inner energy sources. Here are some methods to balance the energy system without relying exclusively on caffeine. Breathing exercises. Pranayama. Exercises such as alternate nostril breathing and Nadi Shodhana help energize the body without external stimulants. Mindful eating. Incorporating more vibrant, fresh foods into your diet helps maintain high energy levels without the need for stimulants. Meditate in the morning without coffee. Meditation sessions before drinking coffee allow you to observe whether it's truly necessary or just an automatic reaction. Natural substitutes. Infusions such as matcha tea, ceremonial cacao, or ginseng can provide mental clarity without having the same energetic effect as coffee. Coffee is neither good nor bad in itself, but its unconscious consumption can have negative effects on the body, mind, and soul. The key is to make coffee drinking a conscious experience and not let it become a habit. Before you drink a cup of coffee, ask yourself the following questions. Do I really need it? Or is it just a habit? How do I feel before drinking it? And how does my energy change afterward? Do I use coffee as a support or as an energetic crutch? When every sip of coffee becomes an act of mindfulness, its consumption is no longer just a necessity but becomes a spiritual tool. Coffee is more than just a simple beverage. It runs like a thread through human history, from Sufi mystics who used it to stay awake during their nightly devotions to philosophers and writers who found a spark of creativity in its aroma. Coffee has transcended cultures and eras. However, as we have seen, its consumption is not merely physical. Its effect on our energy field, our consciousness, and our connection to the spiritual world is profound. It can be an ally for mental clarity and concentration, but also a hindrance if it becomes a dependency that disconnects us from our life energy. The key is balance. It's not about demonizing coffee or mindlessly consuming it, but about transforming our relationship with it into a conscious and sacred act. When each cup we drink is accompanied by intention, gratitude, and observation of its effect on our body and mind, coffee ceases to be a mere habit and becomes a power ritual. Now that you better understand the hidden history of coffee and its effect on the energy field, I invite you to pause and reflect. What's your relationship with coffee? Do you use it consciously or more as an automatic escape? How do you change your energy before and after drinking coffee? If you'd like to delve deeper into spiritual practices and the influence of certain habits on your development, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Share this video with anyone interested in the effects of coffee on the mind and heart. And of course, let us know in the comments. What experiences have you had with coffee on your spiritual path? Wisdom lies in the way we live with awareness, intention, and the willingness to look beyond the obvious.